G'day everyone. Day 13, Forever Flasher 2. If you recall back to the 2011 Advent Calendar of circuits, on day 21 we had a circuit that I called the Forever Flasher, and it was essentially a capacitor switching inverter. So it would charge up a capacitor and then hoist that capacitor using the supply voltage to generate a voltage high enough from a 1.5 volt cell to actually forward bias a green LED, right? So green LEDs normally have at least 1.8, 1.9 volt forward voltage. So as this circuit is laid out, this is a magnetic kind of blocking oscillator instead. So it's a different way of doing it. It requires only one active device as opposed to, I think it was 3 in the original circuit. So in some ways it's more simple, but it requires, this magnetic component, which some people may find more annoying than just soldering some extra devices together. I mean, physically, I built it many years ago now. It's on this battery. The battery voltage is currently about 770 millivolts, and it still flashes. It's flashing currently at about 5 seconds per flash. The flash is very brief. You probably just saw it there, but it is 35 milliseconds long, so my camera doesn't always catch each, if it's in between the frames. The circuit though is sort of interesting in that it's a blocking oscillator plus an RF kind of oscillator. So the way it works is we have this resistor slowly charging up this capacitor. This capacitor is 220 microfarads. This is 15k, so it's about 3.3 ish, I guess, seconds time constant. But what it's really doing is this voltage through the transformer winding has to get to the point where this base emitter junction is going to be forward biased and this transistor starts to turn on. So once this voltage creeps up it starts about 50 millivolts and creeps up to about 620, 630 millivolts before the transistor really has enough transconductance to actually start the RF oscillation. So it starts pulling collector current through this winding, which induces in this winding, and you get feedback. The thing will oscillate. So an oscillation builds up, and it starts forward biasing the green LED after it's charged some capacitances, and there's some DC shift going on as well. The actual LED clamps the voltage here at its forward voltage, so it's a little flatter than I've drawn here. Once it gets to about it decays, so it ramps up, decays down to about 1.9 volts, give or take, and then we'll continue that until the circuit's biasing situation is reduced because of the oscillation and the nonlinearity in this device, causing the oscillator to shut down. In that process, the whole time it's been discharging this capacitor. So this capacitor has been providing the base current for this device, and the base current required has been going up as the RF's been getting larger. So it's been discharging this. Eventually it reaches a point where it can no longer sustain the oscillation. It cuts off. That takes about 35 milliseconds. In that time, it's producing pulses about 12.5 microseconds apart, so the whole thing's oscillating about 80 kilohertz, and those pulses are actually drawing significant collector current for only about 2.5 microseconds. So the duty cycle overall is very low, so it doesn't pull very much current, average current from the battery. The charge current here is, 10, 20 microvolts maybe, 20 microamps at the most, probably less than that. It depends, it's obviously not a linear ramp because this is just a first order. It's not a constant current charging, but yeah, again, I digress, as I frequently do. This capacitor may not be strictly necessary. It improves the efficiency of the circuit. It reduces the RF seen at this point, or takes the edges off it anyway, which means, it just basically makes it a little bit more efficient. You can try removing it. If you build the circuit and it won't oscillate, switch one of the windings because you probably just got the phasing wrong. The coil, as you can see, is just air coil. What I did is I took the 0.25 millimeter, 250 micron magnet wire. I just took a length of it that seemed long enough. I folded it in half, and then I wound that around a 12 millimeter rod. I think it was an X-Acto knife handle, and then kind of bundled it up. The end result was I cut the loop where at one end, and that separated the two windings, and they're by far the same amount of turns, fairly high coupling because they're right next to each other, even though it is actually an air coil. But end result about 27 microhenries on each independently, and it's not particularly critical. Honestly, you could have a ferrite core in here and it would probably be more efficient. This was plenty sufficient, and it's certainly easy to make, right? You need to literally wind it on your finger just about, and it would be fine. Yeah, physically, at some time after I built the circuit, I soldered this little hook on here so that I could hang it up in my room, and it's just been sitting there on the wall blinking ever since. Any old transistor will probably work. You could even make it a PNP and switch the supply voltage around. It will oscillate down to the point where this transistor no longer has sufficient, base current to basically have enough transconductance to oscillate. I'm guessing, I measured roughly that's 500 to 600 millivolts. Basically, the circuit will still oscillate down to. If you put some additional stiffening capacitance across here, you get a little bit more because it doesn't sag as easily when it starts oscillating. Because a lot of these batteries, their shelf life is kind of dominated by them drying out or internal corrosion. This is allegedly alkaline. It's not particular. It's Amazon basics, right? If you use a brand name cell or a bigger cell, it'll probably last many, many, many years. This one is probably halfway through its life at the moment. Yeah. Anyway, compare and contrast with day 21 of the 2011, version of blinky things for low current, long life devices. And you can obviously change the LED color as well. Red would be forward biased probably at 1.5, but wouldn't be at 700. But yeah, you can even have blue or UV LED in here. Would probably be fine. This thing's capable right now of producing more than 4 volts before it's getting clamped. So, and more than that, likely if I actually disconnected the LED. I didn't try it, but yeah, the diode is kind of like self-regulating. It's kind of shunt regulating the voltage on the collector here, which does also limit the feedback voltage. But obviously this is a BJT, it's current sensitive, so yeah, it's pretty straightforward. But the blocking aspect of it, or this self-oscillating, it's not truly blocking in the way that like a blocking oscillators originally were vacuum tube oscillators, and they worked a little differently, but I think most people still call oscillators that have this kind of squegging or self, this lower frequency oscillation caused by their bias conditions changing by the nonlinearity or rectification of their actual oscillation, or their starving of current from some kind of high impedance biasing source. It's a relaxation oscillator. It just happens to implement it in this unusual way. And it's a technique that's used in many different places, sometimes at more audio frequencies rather than these much longer time constants, but it's certainly a relatively efficient way to implement the interflash delay at a fairly low current in this device. Alrighty, that's it for today. We'll have something different tomorrow. See you then.